following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Let's do it.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy, providing a Christ-centered college prep education at an affordable cost. Call 931-388-5731 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule an appointment for a tour today.
Friday night football, Division I semifinal action of local interest. It was Alcoa defeating visiting Giles County 42-12. Oakland down Maryville 24-14. It was East Nashville defeating previously unbeaten Dyersburg 20-7. Summit with a 28-7 win at Hendersonville. Tullahoma down Haywood 44-19. And Page with an epic comeback to knock off Henry County 56-52.
Can't wait to talk about that one in the next segment. High school basketball from last week. We told you we did not have Wednesday results on Friday. It was Summertown's girls 48, Moore County 45 in boys action. Siegel down Loretto 70-58, but Summertown defeated Moore County's boys 71-60.
On Friday, Independence girls defeated Mount Juliet 57-53. Loretto downed Westmoreland 55-48. In boys action on Friday, Loretto took it on the chin against Coffee County, 54-33. Franklin County with a 40. Dyersburg with a 55-48 win over Franklin County. Winners first.
I wrote it as I read it, and Franklin County was on the road, so they were the first team I saw.
Dyersburg 55, Franklin County 48.
Sorry about that. Saturday girls action, Upperman down Independent 61-19. Loretto with a big win over Green Hill 48-18. And boys action, it was Lebanon 77, Franklin County 60. Independence with a pair of wins, 83-48 over Mount Juliet and 70-61 over Wilson Central.
I think one of those was on Friday. Anyway,
Yeah, maybe it was.
MTSU's men doubled up Bryan 96-48 over the weekend. MLS Eastern Conference semifinal action yesterday. On penalty kicks, Philadelphia defeats Nashville 2-1.
Boo.
Yeah, exactly. In NFL action, the Patriots defeated the Titans as expected, 36-13.
Was that a scoregami? That seems like it would be a scoregami.
I will have to check.
NBA action on Friday, the Hawks destroyed the Grizzlies. It wasn't even close. 132-100 the final score. Probably could have been 50. But Sunday, the Grizzlies bounced back 128-101 winners over the Kings. On Friday, Preds down New Jersey 4-2, but Saturday falls 6-2 to the Colorado Avalanche.
In high school basketball action tonight, Culleoka travels to Huntland and Mount Pleasant hosts Hampshire on the mats. Fairview will be at Independence. That'll be roughly a 5 o'clock start. 6 o'clock on both those basketball doubleheaders at Huntland and at Mount Pleasant.
So that's it for your rundown. All right, so the coaching carousel is in full effect in college football. Also, right here in Murray County in the high school ranks, Mo.
Right here, a little bit of a stunner. Columbia Academy has announced that it will not be renewing contract of Charlie Lansdale. Just finished his 9th season with the Bulldogs. 3-7 this past year. Their 3rd straight season of 6 losses or more. Prior to this little dry spell, CA had won 10 plus in 6 straight years, I believe. So interesting news there. Sorry, 5 straight years with 10 plus victories. So
that's, I mean, 76-30 in 9 years.
Yeah. Quote from Athletics Director Pernell Knox: "I appreciate Coach Lansdale's time at Columbia Academy and his contributions to the football program. At this time, I feel a change is necessary and will not be renewing his contract." So, again, he just finished his 9th year. He is by far the longest tenured football coach in Murray County. At this point, 4 of Murray County's 5 football programs will have seen a coaching change over the last 2 years.
Yep.
Everybody but Spring Hill and Ben Martin. So changes are coming.
And there will be a new permanent head coach at Columbia Central. Could be John Moore, could be someone else, but it will be somebody.
Right. Yeah. On a permanent basis,
right,
as opposed to the interim basis under which he served this past season.
And in the
never a dull moment.
never a dull moment. Just before we got to the station today, I get a text from my buddy that said, "Rich Rod's getting cocky," and I thought,
about what?
I thought, hold on now, because I had been obviously I've been working and driving and had not been on Twitter. Brett McMurphy with the first tweet that I saw. Rich Rodriguez will be the new head football coach at Jacksonville State University.
That's
currently the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Monroe under Terry Bowden.
Interesting.
It's certainly a name.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what he did at West Virginia was pretty impressive, but
Never really matched it, though.
Pat White ain't walking through that door.
Neither is Steve Slayton.
Neither is Steve Slayton. So
yeah, those were some fun teams, though.
They were fun. Golly. But, it could – I don't know that there's a lot more people who could transition Jacksonville State from that FCS to FBS and, at least just be that guy, the transition guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he works out, I'll be excited. Obviously, I want him to succeed, but I don't have high expectations. So obviously that's not the end of the carousel.
And it's probably not the biggest move on the carousel, but it certainly is a move.
Yeah, it's the most important move on this side of the table over here for me anyway. So I don't.
You realize Rich Rod was in play at MTSU at one time.
Well, I'm just glad that his wife is finally okay with living in Alabama.
Right.
Well,
assuming.
That's right, because they got to the press conference before. I think it's the Superior Barbecue. Yeah. We have much better ribs in Jacksonville than they do in
Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, okay. You hear me. Yeah, you hear me.
I said what I said.
I said what I said. Hey, don't shake your head. You ain't never been to Cooter Brown's.
I have not.
So you can't know.
God, nobody else knows either. That's probably for a reason.
That's only because we don't have as good of a jingle at Cooter Brown's.
Okay,
but trust me,
you could with a name like that,
right?
You should.
Yeah.
Come get down.
Just keep going. Brown's. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
Move along.
I don't know how to put this into the right trajectory here. So Sonny Dykes is leaving is leaving SMU to go to TCU.
Maybe.
Which means SMU is looking for a coach. Well, they've apparently hired Rhett Lashley, the former offensive coordinator at Auburn and current Miami offensive coordinator.
Getting out ahead of the posse, is he?
I mean,
it was so sad. I've been reading all weekend about Mario Cristobal getting the Miami job, and at one point I had to stop and say, "Wait a minute,
has the other guy got fired?"
And Manny Diaz is still there, right?
He ain't got fired yet.
Wow, but it's just being taken as gospel that Mario Cristobal. So who's Oregon going to hire anyway? Sad. And Manny Diaz is sitting there going, "We just won our last game, y'all.
We're going to a bowl."
Yeah.
Oh, and then you got obviously the big news of the weekend, Lincoln Riley going to USC, which means that now Sonny Dykes could potentially be in play at Oklahoma, according to some folks.
As he's supposed to be announced tomorrow at
TCU. So this could be another Rich Rodriguez situation where they get almost to the press conference and then boom. And then, Billy Napier is now.
I just want to know how Florida could hire a coach in a week. And it took 3 months for USC, and LSU still doesn't.
First of all, it took 5 minutes for USC. You ain't heard nothing from USC since they fired Clay Helton. Why? They already had their man. Period. They already had him, right?
Wow.
LSU didn't know that USC already had their man, and they were banking.
I got a man.
They were
What's
banking.
your man got to do with me?
Exactly. What's your man got to do with me? I got the man.
I'm not trying to hear that. See, we need to talk more about this.
Oh, we got a whole segment. I'm just throwing this out there. We are teasing this because in the second hour we are going to go full on coaching carousel. It's going to be a lot of fun, but the rest of this hour is all high school. We've got high school football coming up in the next segment with Charles Pulliam, and we'll talk some more in segment 3 as well about what happened over the weekend. So come back, high school football reactions, and then Teresa Walker to start hour number 2, and then college football. So stick around right here on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today.
local sports talk you'll only find here. It's Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Live from the Lee Company studio with the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, here's Chris Yao.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Man, what a weekend. So obviously I did not go to a game on Friday. I was paying attention. I watched the Summit game on NFHS Network, Mo. My dad and I were both, and they have no announcers. They have nobody manning the scoreboard.
So you're just watching, literally.
So you're watching, and there's zeros on the zeros all across it. Zeros on the team score, zero on the
goodness.
scoreboard.
So if you're not keeping up, you got no clue.
So as I'm watching, I'm doing play-by-play because why not? My dad has no idea who these people are. So like I'm trying to help him, right? Doing the best I can. So it was interesting. But got a chance to watch that one. I watched the first quarter of Oakland and Maryville after Giles County. I watched about 5 minutes of Giles County. Obviously, Alcoa
how many times did Alcoa score
3.
in 5 minutes?
3. They ran the opening kickoff back, forced the punt, scored again. On the ensuing kickoff, Giles County fumbles, Alcoa scored again, and I was like, oh, that one's over. So went to Oakland Maryville. It was like 7-7. It was a good ball game. And then Summit came on, and I was like, I got to watch Summit. So I did. That was fun. It was interesting being able to watch all of them, though, like kind of going between, because once you watch a game, when you hit back on NFHS Network, it says recently viewed. So like you can kind of go back and forth between them. It's pretty neat. But I got a chance to do that. And then I was listening to a little bit of JP and Friday Night Live and started paying attention to that Henry County Page score.
So I'm at Hendersonville trying to keep up. And at one point, our guest, Charles Pulliam, tells me, yeah, Henry County's up 38-21. I'm like, oh, well.
Tough year. Well done, Henry County, for going 5-5 and making the state finals.
Yeah, good job. And hate it for Page, but heck of a run. Not so fast, my friend. Set the Lee Corsos out in Rotorville. Yeah,
man, it was wild, man. So I mean, obviously Charles was with you, so he doesn't have any firsthand knowledge, but we're going to ask him about what he does know, because we have to go way up north to Springfield. Not quite to Alaska this time, but they don't have a north of Springfield song, so it is what it is. Charles Pulliam of the Williamson Herald, brought to you by the Williamson Herald, who's covering sports like the dew from Brentwood to Spring Hill, Fairview to Nolensville, but was covering Summit on Friday night, and obviously taking in the Page Henry County back and forth affair. So, Charles, welcome in. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, yeah, this is I get a little earlier, I get a little everything here. This is good stuff.
Yeah, got to be a little excited. I mean, this thing is starting to wind down and making plans for Chattanooga for the first time and that kind of thing. Exciting times in Williamson County with two teams headed that way.
Oh, definitely. And I was joking with Coach Rathbone actually at Page because Joe Williams and I actually had the call for the previous 2 playoff games for Page, and I broke out of that and got into I wanted to watch Summit play in the semis as well. I felt like there was a pull to go to either spot, and I wanted to make sure to see both teams because I really felt pretty good about both teams making it to Chattanooga, and it's like it'd be weird not seeing Summit at least once beyond the first round. So made that trek to Hendersonville, hung out with Mo on the sidelines, and we were following, like you said. And, when I looked at 38-21, that was the first time they were down by 17 in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And they, I went and checked one more time. I think a little later, I was like expecting the final and, hoping it was, within a touchdown for the guys. But I think it was 51-48 at that point. Or something crazy. 52-49 is when I looked.
Yeah.
And then I went and listened to the radio. It was nuts. So Coach Rathbone doesn't think of me as a good luck charm anymore. So that's unfortunate.
Still thinks
Joe
of Joe
Williams
as
did.
yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So at least one of us is.
Now, are y'all going to do?
Performance.
Are y'all going to do radio this weekend?
So I believe Stormy and Garth are going to handle it for Page side. So I think we'll have Joe writing and me doing video. I got my camera lined up, good to go. So it'll be kind of like old times when we get to knock stuff out. Yeah. But man, I can't get over that. And then what a weekend for the McNamara family as a whole.
That's what I was going to say.
It's just one of a kind, man. I'm looking forward to seeing McNamara, Mr. McNamara there. I forget his first name now, but Dad's got to have just a tooth-to-tooth grin, man. He is all over the place.
I had made mention to somebody in a tweet Friday night that maybe all of the McNamara magic for one weekend was gone after Friday night, but again,
apparently
not so much. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and talking to Jake briefly there on the little press conference earlier on today for championship week, Jake let us know that the entire family was in Ann Arbor for that too as well. So even his middle brother or oldest brother, regardless that the other brother is injured and wasn't playing for Western, so he made the trip too. And Jake was there. He said it was just an electric atmosphere, but kind of hard to measure out. I mean, one's doing it at the most elite, amazing craziness of high school, and the other's doing it at the college level. I mean, what a treat for that family.
Can't beat it, man. So, this Page team they've been really good all year long. They've beaten everybody that that they're supposed to beat. They got to the state finals, and now, they got to take on a Powell team that's going to be very, very difficult to beat, obviously, with big-time defensive lineman, 5-star recruit, Texas A&M signee,
Committed.
Yeah.
Or you're right. He's just committed so far. he might go to Tennessee. Who knows? They got to feel, like they are the underdog this time.
Oh, I think so too. And it's just, these are it's kind of uniquely with this. Both these teams lost in the first round last year, and now we see them meeting up in the finals, which is just wild. But I think the first conversation you're going to have when you break down these two teams is how, we just watched Jake McNamara with some amazing magic at quarterback for Page, but on the other side, Jordan Potts is almost like him. I mean, these are two identical kind of guys that just get the ball where it needs to go, and they extend plays with their legs. Potts is something here, and I think that's what Coach Rathbone and the guys were kind of talking about a little earlier today, was just how, in terms of preparation, the defense for Page is going to kind of be like, well, it's going to be like facing Jake, and with how there's some comfort in knowing what to expect, that's a high challenge. And then at the same time, realizing Powell is almost using, the big Nolan kid as, he's only had seven touches in the backfield, but he scored 5 times on those.
That's 7 too many, I would think.
Yeah, but that's always in their back pocket. If they want to go to that big man kind of rush or something like that. How do you stop a big 6'5", 310-pound guy? Fortunately, these Page boys were able to overcome a giant Henry County team, and they were beat up there a little bit, but that line is solidified. You got guys like Owen Zach kind of leading the way, Stephen Rainey, players like that have been there, and they're playing up, and they're veterans, and now to get a play for a state title is pretty special. But it's going to be like facing a team similar to them, just a little bigger.
Speaking with Charles Pulliam of the Williamson Herald here on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Charles, obviously the game that you were at, quite an interesting affair early anyway, with the goal line stand on Summit's opening possession and the reaction by the host Commandos to Summit's first touchdown. And then it was like Summit said, all right, time to get serious here.
Yeah. Oh, totally. That was the thing. Yeah, I remember we locked eyes, I think, after the immediate response to the Keaton Wade 55-yard touchdown reception from his brother Destin. I think it was just 2 plays later when Torrin Baker just ripped up the middle for a 60-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, 7-7 with 4:19 to play in the first. Okay, maybe we got a game here. And then, through that second quarter, watching Summit defense kind of just caused a bunch of headaches, and then Destin Wade with some big chunk plays. That was another one of those things we talked about was, the red zone is about whenever they have the ball, because you just never know when you're going to get something like that. You get Brady Pierce for a 40, 50, 60, 70-yarder every now and then. Just big chunk stuff, nothing safe. And Destin and Keaton, when they're running the ball, they're just dangerous guys that could chunk out those big ones as well. So, yeah, it was a little different by the end of the half there. And then I think it was Aiden Bird that ended up having the interception in the end zone to kind of cement that first half performance for Summit. I think they were up 20-7 at that point. And that's kind of all they needed, and they came out in the third, and it was kind of a quiet third as well. But then Brady Pierce, on a little sweep to the right side, ends up scoring early in the fourth. And, they go up by 3 touchdowns because they went for 2 after that. And it was Keaton on a little fade to the corner from Destin. They were almost methodical, it seemed like.
Yeah, that's a good word for it, I think. Yeah. Very methodical, very workmanlike. And, you mentioned the Aiden Bird interception to end the first half. And under different circumstances, that might have been something that we'd have asked James Beasley and the Hendersonville coaching staff about, because I expected, and at least one other person I was talking to, I don't remember who it was, you expected them to kick a field goal there and get some points because they got the ball to open the second half, and kick a field goal there. You make it 20-10, come down and score off that opening possession of the third quarter. You're in a 3-point ball game there.
That was what we were talking about.
Totally.
During the game, I was like, you got to kick it here, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense not to. It was only a 25 or 26 yards.
Oh yeah, I mean, they were at they were inside the 5, I believe. I mean, and they decide to go. Yeah. They decide to get cute, go wildcat with Baker with the jump pass, and Aiden Bird was just sitting right there. Great play on his part.
Aiden wasn't the only one there. I think, if Aiden wasn't going to get there, Brady was right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just, and that was, you could talk to Coach Coleman about that one. He'll probably say Brady read that instantly and perfectly and told Aiden where to go. But that's when he's the quarterback of the defense, Brady just reads things so well. And he got the guys where they needed to go there. And, he was right behind Bird on that play, ready to make it. And I think he stepped back because Aiden had a chance to go up and get it. But yeah, that's a missed opportunity there. And then sure enough, they start the third and get snuffed out right away too. So, it would have been nice to go down there 20-10 instead, but now things just change dramatically. And when someone gets the ball back, they're going to score in one or two of those possessions at some point. And I thought it was just when they did go for 2 early in that fourth after that touchdown to make it a 3-score, cemented 3-score. It was kind of like, okay, wow, this is it.
Yeah. Once that's a tough team to catch up on, as most teams have found out this season. Yeah.
Charles,
I loved getting to chat about some of those wrestler guys too. I know you just had a piece released out there on those guys too. I mean, Finley Jamison, Maddox Reed, guys like that are making big impacts out there for the Summit team. know Pete Miller's happy.
Pete Miller is definitely happy. And we are always happy when we get a chance to talk to you, and we appreciate you taking some time with us today, man. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in Chattanooga, man.
That's right. We'll see you this weekend. That is Charles Pulliam of the Williamson Herald, brought to you by the Williamson Herald. We'll be right back talking more high school football right after this on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today.
Talking high school sports, here's Mo and Chris.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. You know what? Who cares about saying my name if we can get to this?
Sorry about that.
That's fine. It's fine. The faster we can get to Stevie, the better. That's all I'm saying. Oh, we are not superstitious here at Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. We're just a little stitious. And Mo, we're going to talk high school sports, but you know, I'm scrolling Twitter as we are wont to do. And I am beginning to get a little worried about Freddie Freeman. But I also know that Alex Anthopoulos I think he threatened bodily harm to anybody who leaks anything.
Man, he does keep everything close to the vest, doesn't he?
So maybe everything's fine. I don't know.
And I mean, after the summer that he had, I'm inclined to in Alex we trust, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so
I
wonder, I would love to know what his plan B is.
Well,
I mean, I hope we don't have to find out. I'd just like to know.
Sure. I can understand that. I was, I guess, sign all the outfielders and make Austin play first.
Rotate outfielders in at first. You know?
Just let them just keep them in a circle.
Yep. Left, center, right first. Left, center, right first.
I guess that's one way to do it. No, it's just interesting. Again, and you're right. And Alex, we trust, but it's a little concerning. Although I just hate that the Mets are spending all this money just to finish third again. I hate that for them. That's a lot of money to finish third.
But it's their money.
Their money. Let them spend it.
And spend it how you want to. I mean, I don't know if there is a 37-year-old pitcher out there who is worth $130 million over 3 seasons. It's probably Max Scherzer,
except against the Braves,
and that's fine.
Against whom he has a 3.78 ERA, 10-9 record. So you know what? Sign him all day.
Go ahead.
Well,
maybe they're not signing him for us. Maybe they're signing him for the Nationals and the Marlins and
everybody else
and the Phillies.
They're certainly not signing him to face us.
No.
Matter of fact, they might skip him when we come to town.
They may very well.
Oh man. Anyway, I just, I did make a tweet and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I said that it appeared to me that some of these owners are throwing out a bunch of money to force the superstars to get the rest of the players union to fall in line. Because they don't get paid if they're not playing. And folks are throwing around a lot of money to these superstars, and the superstars are
and not even superstars. Looking at you, Marcus Semien.
Gossman got paid. So, I mean, maybe they're saying these guys will help get the rest of them in line.
Could be. Whatever works. But
interesting.
It would be nice with a supposed lockout looming if the Braves could get Freddie Freeman done
down before.
Yeah. So we'll see.
We will see. Let's go through the brackets, man. Let's talk about what happened over the weekend. And I mean, we just talked about the Summit game, but
one thing that we didn't really talk a whole lot about, and Charles kind of mentioned it toward the end of the segment, Finley Jameson, the junior inside linebacker for Summit, it just felt like all night long he was all over the place. I got their defensive stats last night, 15 tackles.
When I wrote that story 2 weeks ago about the defense, I mean, he was the reason I wrote it, because he had 2 sacks back to back against Brentwood that basically put the game away.
Listed at 5'8", 165, and nobody can block him
because you can't find him. He gets behind one of those defensive tackles and just shoots a gap, and but when he's gone before you know he's even coming.
Kind of Sam Mills-ish, the field mouse. Yeah.
I mean, it was why he is a really, and the leverage, because again, part of that wrestling thing, just a fantastic football player.
4 starters on that defense wrestle. Maddox Reed, who had a sack and a fumble recovery that Jameson forced. John Sloan at the opposite defensive end, and Noah Feltz, a corner who played a pretty good ball game Friday night as well. And then you got Ryan Smith, who rotates in up front, and some guys on the offensive side of the ball as well. But yeah, we've got a I start to say we've got a nice article. I'll let the readers decide that. We've got
It's
an article on Main Street Murray on the influence of the wrestling program on Summit's football team as they head toward Chattanooga this weekend. So,
not wrestling. So you know,
wrestling, huge difference.
They don't have
nobody's coming off the top rope. No, nobody's blowing any magic dust in anybody's face or no chains.
Well, they have a turnover something. I don't know what their turnover mascot is, but yeah, some not really a surprising state finals outside of McKenzie Peabody. McKenzie, who, boy, just keeps winning. I mean, come into the playoffs, you know.
Well, I mean, they were undefeated coming in.
Undefeated and
opened with a 63-12 win over Moore County.
Shut out Cornersville, which, you know, at that point we should have said, oh, they're for real. They're for real.
But since we didn't, then they turned around and beat Fayetteville 14-8. So the Rebels stoutened up.
They did.
And then, like you said, this 36-30 win over Peabody. So
ending the state's second longest win streak in the playoffs.
So, I mean,
that's an impressive feat that nobody's talking about.
And it's one of those deals where, you know, for McKenzie, he's just sitting there going, you know, and nobody's paying any attention to us. What we going to do? We're going to keep winning.
Keep winning.
We're going to keep winning, and eventually they won't have any choice but pay attention to us. So I would imagine the focus will be on McKenzie as they take on the hometown favorite, South Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, South Pittsburgh always brings a good crowd, but it's probably going to be a little bit bigger.
It'll be a little different this time.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
When they're playing a few miles from the house. So, yeah, South Pittsburgh winner 30-22 over Cloudland. Not really surprised that South Pittsburgh is in the finals. I think, you know, he certainly thought the South Pittsburgh Gordonsville winner would get there, and South Pitt pretty well handled Gordonsville rather easily. So
44-14.
I was a little surprised at that Hampton Trousdale County. I really thought Trousdale, obviously, after.
Well, it sounds like Hampton did something late to win that ball game. JP, what do you know about the way that one came out?
You talked to Hampton's coach after that one, so after the game.
Trousdale was up late.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. They
20-14, I guess it was.
Yeah, it was. Hampton scored within the last 2 or 3 minutes and was able to obviously to get that win. I apologize. I don't recall.
Was Hampton down by 6 and had to go for 2,
or went for 2? I think
because they had to go for 2. It was 20-20. If it was 20-20 and you can kick an extra point, you're kicking an extra point, right?
Well, yeah. So yeah, I guess you had to go for 2 because that was their only option. Yeah. So you run into that from time to time at that level where we just don't have a kicker.
But man, can you imagine not having the option to just kick an extra point and having to run a play from the 3-yard line to win the game?
Extra points ain't exactly automatic.
No, but it's a little bit easier than a 2-point conversion against Trousdale County.
Depends on what you got, man.
Clearly they got 2 of the 3.
There you go.
If they went for 2 every time, they got 2 of the 3.
Yep.
So Hampton winners over Trousdale County did not see that one coming. So Hampton, the 2 seed, by the way, out of Region 1, South Green
was the number 1.
Was the 1 and got beat by Oneida. And then of course Westview and Riverside. Riverside was up in that game early.
Really?
And then Westview kind of just took over. I remember, I think it was like 18-12 or 18-14 or something.
18-12.
18-12 at some point, and then Westview was like, okay, we're through playing. Let's go get this win. And that's what they did. So they will take on Hampton. That's a second. Let's see. That's game number 2 on Saturday in that 2-way game. So, man,
excited about that early game on Saturday, this Elizabethton-Tullahoma game.
I think this is going to be a really good football game. I think this is going to be the best possible football game that we could have had in 4A. As far as competitive, I think if Greenville had gotten there, it would be tough for anybody. But I think Elizabethton is beatable, and Tullahoma is really good. And I got a feeling that the West might finally break that streak.
And 4 straight now.
3 straight for Greenville and Elizabethton between the two of them. I don't know if it's been, I don't know when the last time somebody won a 4A title from the West.
Excited to see this East Nashville team. Paul Stewart in his second year as head coach. Took care of business against Dyersburg the other night to get there.
Pick 2 games different than you this week, like I did last week, but you won both of them this week. So now we're tied going into the finals. So there you go.
Hey, what is it they say? Water finds its level. I mean,
it does
eventually.
Man, it's, this, I am hopeful. I mean, after what Alcoa did to Giles County, which Giles County more shot themselves in the foot than Alcoa did a whole lot. I mean, obviously you can't take anything away from Alcoa, but Giles County certainly didn't play the type of game that we're accustomed to them playing. They don't make dumb mistakes like muffing kickoffs. They just don't do that. So it may have been, it may have been the Eastern Tennessee air. It might have been the trip over. It might have been the fact that they're playing Alcoa. Could have been a lot of things.
Any or all of the above.
Or all, yeah. So that's a tough loss for them. And then in 5A, you called it, man. Powell, an absolute dominant performance over West, that's tough.
Yeah, the way West had gone through this bracket for Powell to handle them 35-7 like that.
I mean, handled them.
Yeah. That's impressive. Makes you a little concerned for Paige.
Well, I didn't think that anybody out of the West was going to compete with
anybody out of the
either
East.
Powell or West. And I don't think that that's necessarily changed, but I think Paige's offense is going to put pressure on the Panthers.
And I think with these 2 quarterbacks, it's going to be an entertaining ball game.
It will be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. And I'm excited we get to do that on Friday night. And then, of course, Oakland with the first playoff win at Maryville since 1999. The first time that Maryville has lost a playoff game this millennium at home.
So Oakland partied like it was.
1999. Yes, they did.
Game ball?
Game ball.
Finley Jamison, 15 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble, and Summit's 28-7 win at Hendersonville. This is Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Come back.
From the Blue Raiders to the two-tone blue, covering the teams you care about. It's only on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Live from the Lee Company studio with the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, here's Chris Yao.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Hour number 2, getting ready to commence. Mo, 57 minutes ago, Larry Woody reports on Wilson Post. The fairgrounds and NASCAR have reached a deal to bring a cup race back to the fairgrounds. That's phenomenal.
There are a lot of ecstatic folks over that news. Our friend Joe Williams obviously being chief among them, but a lot of people will be over the moon for that. And the only thing that will make it better will be when it actually happens, when they get a date set and when they get it here. So that'll be something to certainly keep an eye on.
Cannot wait. Oh, this is incredible. Great news. Fantastic news. Again, full report, wilsonpost.com. Fairground Speedway to get NASCAR Cup race. Larry Woody, also a Hall of Famer, right?
Correct. Much deserved.
Speaking of Hall of Famers, Mo, we got one on the line with us to talk a little. We're not just going to talk a little, although it might be easier. But, you know, it is at this point, if we want to blame the quarterback and all the things that are going wrong on the one guy, but there's a lot of stuff going on with this team. And Teresa Walker joins us now from the Associated Press. Teresa, how are you? How are things in Titans camp?
Well, let's just say that the fact that they're at the bye, I can't think of a NFL team that needs their bye more than this team needs their bye, okay? They've played 49 different starters. They hit the NFL mark, such as it is, of playing 86 different players this season. That's 2 more than San Francisco did last year or Miami did the year before. Now, luckily, the unlimited rules of return from IR are helpful, but you know, and that's the one good thing. They've got 17 players currently on IR. Now, when they come back next week, we'll see if Julio Jones, he is eligible to return against the Jaguars on December 12th. So is safety Dane Cruikshank. But guys, I mean, the injury report alone was about 16 players last week. You know, they declared 5 out before they right after they finished practicing for the week. So to say that this is a banged up team is, you know, it's almost an understatement. Yet they're 8-4 and 3rd in the AFC. So you look at the last 2 teams that had played in the 80s for a season, they didn't do too well. They finished with losing records. So now, while there's still plenty of time for the Titans to do that, the schedule is such down the stretch that you've got to think they're going to have a chance to snap this 2-game skid and finish off a 2-game lead in the division, not including the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Colts. So, you know, this is a team that seems on target, if they can heal up, to be hosting a playoff game in January.
I think I heard that the Titans don't play another team that has a winning record as of right now the rest of the way. Is that correct?
Actually, with San Francisco winning yesterday, I think they beat the Vikings. They are at 6-5. So, yeah, they are the one winning team left on their record. The Steelers are 5-5-1. And no offense to Steelers fans, they're looking like a hot mess right now. So, but for the Titans, that their two of their 4 losses have come to the previously winless Jets and the 1 win Houston Texans. So, you know, the fact that they still have to host the Jaguars, the Miami Dolphins, and then, yes, go to Houston. You would like to think that they can finish this up. On paper, I can look at this and say, sure, they have a chance to get to 12-5. Shoot, they could be 13-4. We're just going to have to wait and see how many of these guys heal up, how they can fix, besides healing up, the other thing is stop turning over the ball. 9 turnovers in 2 weeks. They are at the bottom of the NFL right now looking up.
Talk about hot mess. And obviously a lot of this comes back to the quarterback. And, Chris, you mentioned it a little bit ago. You don't want to put everything on Ryan Tannehill, but putting the ball in harm's way the way he has over the last couple of games in particular has been a little tough to watch. We had hoped, I think, that Tannehill's game would go to another level with Derrick Henry out, and yes, it has. It's not necessarily the level that you would have hoped.
Well, but here's the thing. Let's not forget, he's a guy who throws to a spot, right? There's some of that to his game. And now Mike Vrabel said today, ball placement, decision-making has to get better on Ryan Tannehill's part. But look at who he was throwing to yesterday. Cody Hollister, promoted up off of the practice squad. Nick Westbrook-Akina, an undrafted guy last year out of Indiana. Chester Rogers was cast off by the Colts, late last season. And then Des Fitzpatrick was the only draft pick among that group. And he was a guy who couldn't make this final roster out of training camp. So, the guys that are on IR, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Cam Batson, Racey McMath, Marcus Johnson, these were all guys ahead of these guys. So it's like, you are working, they've signed Golden Tate, but they're trying to get him into football shape. He's somebody to help him down the stretch, while A.J. Brown, he's not eligible to return until that 49ers game right before Christmas. So, they're trying to get him up to football shape and get him going and familiar. But, you're working with the group that has, Chester Rogers has the most starts among that group and, most experience in the NFL. But the rest of these guys, you're trying to make some chicken salad right now. And does Ryan Tannehill have to be better? Sure. He's got 13 interceptions. It's most in the NFL. He's also the NFL's most sacked quarterback with 33. Right now he's tied, I think, with his rookie year for most interceptions. And, he can see the other one, the other worst year, 17 in his second year in the NFL. He is looking a lot like Miami Tannehill right now. And so, yes, he's going to have to be better for them down the stretch. But, again, it's amazing. Sometimes you look as good as the company you keep.
Well, and this is what I tweeted under another area reporter's story. He's had his pocket time is 2.1 seconds right now across the season. Add that to Julio having been hurt, not being able to get separation, which is why he hasn't targeted Julio as much early when Julio was playing. Then you have your second and third string guys who obviously can't get separation because they're second and third string guys. They're not going to get separation against those top cornerbacks. On top of not having time to read, they're not getting separation. He doesn't have time. That right there is going to be a recipe for disaster. So, I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like a Tannehill problem. It just seems like a everything problem. The line isn't blocking well, and the wide receivers can't get separation. You're gonna throw interceptions. That's how it works. This is the NFL.
Exactly. And I mean, shoot, we looked last night and, Lamar Jackson's picked off 3 times in the second quarter. So, I go back to, they need to all play better. And Mike Vrabel said that today. Everybody's got to get better. They're going to be, in fact, before just breaking away, they're going to work like a half day Tuesday and Wednesday, conditioning, lifting, and trying to fix some mistakes. And, now think about this. We got to talk to assistant coaches today, and I asked Keith Carter a little bit about this. And I mean, think about this. Aaron Brewer has filled in at right guard these last 2 games with Nate Davis out. Nate Davis, who's missed 3 of 4 games now with a concussion. Guys, there's like 10 starters that have missed starts for this team. And, that's dang near half your team, right? Shoot, you want to count kicker. I didn't even count kicker. I mean, Randy Bullock, who hit 2 uprights, cost them 4 points. They've got the lead at halftime yesterday. If he just makes those 2 kicks, the extra a point, and then the field goal that was early, and yet he clanks them off the upright. He's the 3rd different kicker for this team. So, but for the offensive line, we saw them run block yesterday. Really, really well. I mean, 270 yards rushing. I mean, the big question when Derrick Henry got hurt is like, oh my God, can they run the ball ever again? They answered that yesterday. Now they've got to work on pass protection. Don't lose the ball. Hold on to that thing. 3 points of pressure. Both Hilliard and Deontay Foreman, maybe they just got excited seeing the end zone in front of them and forgot there's guys trying to knock that ball out. But I've got a picture over my shoulder. Gunther Cunningham once showed us. It's like it's 3 points. Boom, boom, boom. Get that thing tucked in. And, that
Teresa,
wasn't yes.
Which one of the running backs was wearing sleeves yesterday?
Ooh, I'd have to see a picture, Mo, because there was so much to keep an eye on. That
I understand,
yeah.
but
I
a
think
good friend of mine.
I think Foreman had a sleeve on the right arm, red.
A good friend of mine and friend of the show, Joe Campbell, made a point of if you got the ball against bare skin, you have a much less chance of that kind of thing happening. And Joe knows a little bit about carrying the football, so I tend to trust that.
Oh, agreed. And the reason why, if you've got a sleeve or something, it's going to start moving. It can be grabbed. It can slide, which means the ball can start sliding. So, but yeah, that's not, and here's the thing, the Titans work on that. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the videos, we showed them a ton the last couple of years with Derrick Henry. They've got that helmet on a stick and, they're banging in there, or they've got the boxing gloves, literally trying. I mean, they run drills where they're literally trying to knock that ball out with boxing gloves. So, but these guys have been around for barely a month. I mean, Dontrell Hilliard was signed first, and I think right before Halloween, and so you haven't had a chance to run these drills with these guys that much. So yeah, they've got a lot to fix. It's not merely heal up. They do have some mistakes that they've got to clean up and get better at. But it's a lot easier to do it when you're 8-4 than the other direction.
Teresa, you mentioned it yesterday, the first and goal situation. You get to 4th and goal at the 2 and throw the ball instead of just running it as they had been. But you mentioned what has happened to the naked bootleg.
That is a great question, and didn't get to ask Mike Vrabel about that today. I mean, we got to save some questions for next week, right?
Sure.
But Ryan Tannehill has 5 touchdown runs this year. I mean, the Tanny roll, the Tanny wheels, doing the finger roll in the end zone. I mean, he is, Derrick Henry's got 10. Tannehill's got 5. I mean, he is their second leading rusher. And, and I'm sorry, but when you don't have A.J. Brown to throw to on the fade, or Julio Jones, or, I know that Nick Westbrook-Akina is 6'2", and he had a 100-yard receiving game last week, but I'm sorry, you when you're trying to throw the ball and you're that close to the goal line, everything is compact. It's easier for a defensive player to get a hand up and break it up or pick it off. And that's why I'm sorry, I love misdirection. We've seen the Titans use misdirection, flow everything one way, and Tannehill trots around to an wide open end zone the other way. And to not see that called even once yesterday in that situation was frustrating, I'm sure, not just for me, because when I tweeted that out, I had a lot of people saying exactly. So a lot of us were thinking the very same thing.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press. Teresa, thanks so much for taking time with us today, and we appreciate you, as always, bringing the insight of the Tennessee Titans. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Oh, boy, do I have a tweet for you, Mo. When we come back, it's college football, and I'm excited to get to this one. So stick around. Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Day returns after this.
Let's do it.
Did you see that? Oh my goodness. It's time for Reaction Monday on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Here with the Hall of Famer, Mo Patton. Here's Chris Yao.
Welcome back in. It is Reaction Monday as we get you ready for all the coaching changes that are coming. And they're coming. You rest assured they're coming.
I don't know how we're going to get them ready for all of them.
Man, the tweet to which I referenced before the break, Mo, Albert Breer, senior NFL reporter, lead content strategist for the Monday Morning Quarterback. He is formerly of the Boston Globe, Dallas Morning News, NFL Network. Tweets, I can't remember a college football program ever getting absolutely nuked the way Oklahoma has over the last 12 hours or so. So much torn to the ground.
What you want to do that for, Albert?
So, see, here's the thing. What he didn't know is that Vol Twitter is a thing. And
He didn't
know.
Past tense.
He knows now.
He knows now.
He's well aware of Vol Twitter at this point.
All too painfully aware.
Probably should have just stuck to the NFL. That's all I'm saying.
What does that mean? You should have sat there and ate your food.
That tweet was 17 hours ago. 4 hours ago, he said
13 hours later.
13 hours later.
Yeah.
From SpongeBob. Over the last couple of hours, I learned how aggressive Tennessee football Twitter is. I'll stand down. You guys are right. Lane Kiffin leaving like he did in 2010 is in the conversation with this one.
That's just
to which Vol Twitter then replied, 2020 Jeremy Pruitt's worse than what Oklahoma's experiencing right now. 2010 Lane Kiffin is leaps and bounds worse.
And let's not forget the nuclear option.
I mean,
the Shiano.
On top of all of that, Kiffin and O were calling recruits saying, hey, don't enroll in class. Don't go to class. We're not going to be here. Or don't enroll in school, blah, blah, blah. And then, having to fire your coach 2 weeks before signing day, which having to, quote unquote, deciding to fire your coach 2 weeks before signing day and losing 30 players that are currently on your roster to the transfer portal, 2 of which went to Oklahoma, at least 2.
It's more than that.
I think it's
3.
3. It was Gray,
Keyshawn Lawrence,
and the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Wanye Morris.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 went to Oklahoma. I wonder how those guys are feeling today. Look,
you jumped on one of those 3 guys the other night.
I did not name any names. I just said I didn't feel any pity for him.
Who do you feel like didn't know who you were talking about, Chris?
If you can put 2 and 2 together, congratulations.
Well, hey, if you can put 2 and 2 together, then it puts you ahead of anybody that was watching Lincoln Riley's press conference that night. When he said with a straight face, I'm not going to LSU.
Well, here's the thing is the reason he stopped the question was because the question wasn't going to be about LSU.
I didn't watch it.
The question was going to be about going to another school or leaving that job. And so he interrupts the question, let me stop you right there. I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU.
I am going to be the next coach at USC.
But you don't know that.
Yeah, right.
So
funny guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, zero pity for any of them. I'm sorry. As Brad Shepard said, VFNs. Vol for nevermore. So
that's a good one.
So, a lot of folks have thought that Tennessee could be in a bad situation here. Josh Heupel played quarterback at the University of Oklahoma, former Oklahoma offensive coordinator.
Those dots are easily enough connected.
The problem is that the reason he's a former offensive coordinator
is because he was fired.
Is because he was fired and hasn't spoken to Bob Stoops since. And clearly Bob Stoops is still pretty tight in that organization.
Since he's going to coach Oklahoma in their bowl game.
So I don't think Josh Heupel's anywhere near that conversation.
Well, people tend to get a little irritated when you fire them.
Speaking like you know.
Caught that, did you?
I mean, look, it's a scary situation if you're Tennessee fans, right? I mean,
well, sure, you have to be concerned.
The only job that Lane Kiffin was going to leave for was
he left for
was the one that came open, and Jeff Fisher didn't take, unfortunately. So
and this would, under normal circumstances, appear to be a very similar situation.
Luckily, it's not. So rest easy, Tennessee fans. Nothing to see here.
Stand down.
Stand down. You're good.
Breathe.
But Oklahoma is in a precarious situation they are in, because everybody that they recruited, every 5-star and 4-star is gone. They've opened their recruitment up.
Well, and because of the job that Lincoln Riley had done in Southern California, it's part of it.
So I think Oklahoma is in the biggest, most precarious situation, and I don't think Sonny Dykes is the answer, by the way.
Any more than he's the answer at TCU.
Well, I mean, I think he can be fine at TCU or whatever. But
compared to Gary Patterson?
Probably not. But I think he's going to have a better situation than, he will be going into a better, more stable situation than one he's going into it if he were to go to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Now, there is mutual interest from what we understand. But they're better than Sonny Dykes, right?
One would think.
I don't know.
Here's a question.
Oh, and LSU's still open, by the way.
By the way, are there other schools right now that would like to fire their coach, but don't want to, but not in this economy?
Not in this economy, exactly. I mean, yeah, there's probably a few out there who are going, boy, we could really use a change of scenery in the coach's office, but who we going to get? So, and see, LSU is in the Lincoln Riley not only gaslit Oklahoma, but he gaslit LSU.
Did he? Oh, do you think LSU thought he was coming?
Absolutely. Why do you think Will Wade was following him on Twitter?
That's another story for another day.
Sharing secrets, what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe Will Wade was trying to get some tips. Bruh, how you do it?
How'd you? Well, maybe Lincoln Riley's like, how'd you get caught and still not have to pay anything?
How'd you get caught and still have a job? Yeah, what's up?
But I mean, LSU is now in the same situation they were in when they hired Coach O. The reason they hired Coach O is because nobody else wanted the job. And now you don't have Coach O.
You know, the question I just asked you about, are other schools hesitating? New Bias Wilborn, friend of the show, just tweeted, Temple fired its coach after 3 seasons. It's real out here.
Whew. At Temple?
Right.
Who you gonna get? Oh man, this is a wild day in college football, and I don't know what happens here. Like, who
gets Oklahoma?
Hugh Freeze has to be an option for somebody. But Hugh Freeze signed a huge deal.
I've already told you where Hugh Freeze is going.
Well, Brian Harsin says he is in it for the long haul. JP, did you get that tweet I sent you earlier? I sent you a tweet of Harsin's press conference from yesterday when he talked about that. Harsin says he's committed to Auburn. Now, I'm not saying that he wouldn't listen.
What else would he say?
Well,
so there you go.
Yes, but there are. I'm not going to be the next coach at Washington State. I mean, so he can go to Washington. Like, I don't know, but I don't feel like. I feel like if Harsin was going, he would have left yesterday or today. Right? Oklahoma's president said we would have just liked more notice. That was his quote. We would have liked more notice.
When would you like for me to
at least 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Well,
can I put in my 2 weeks notice?
Here's what I'm hearing about Washington is Fresno State's coach is going to go there.
Well,
so it's not going to be Harsin.
Right. So I think Harsin is in Auburn.
He'll stay. Yeah. He'll stay.
So Freeze.
Let's
Freeze
go to Oklahoma when Mario Cristobal takes the Miami job.
Oregon.
That's it. Yeah. Oregon. I'm sorry.
When Mario, the Miami job that's not open, but apparently is.
Apparently is open. Yeah. Everybody knows it's open except
Manny Diaz.
Manny Diaz.
Oh man, it's wild. Okay, so Freeze is potentially signing a 10-year deal with Liberty, and they got the money to pay him. They're the only school like that has the money to pay him, right?
Of that size, yes.
And they're going to Conference USA. He's better than that. So I'll tell you, there's two people who are wishing that they had taken other jobs last year, and that's Jeff Brom,
Purdue,
and Indiana,
and Tom Allen.
Yeah, Tom
Allen.
Tom Allen is kicking himself right now.
I don't know, man. Jeff Brom. I think Jeff Brom likes it at Purdue.
I think he does too.
I think he likes it. Yeah. He
and
won't.
He's from Louisville.
He just won't have that opportunity again. Probably not.
Here's what is interesting to me is that Luke Fickell keeps coming up
at Oklahoma.
Everywhere.
He's coming up everywhere. LSU, I heard today.
But why?
For the same reason Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma? Maybe Fickell ain't sold on going to the Big 12.
You're in as good of a situation at Cincinnati with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, going to the Big 12, than you are trying to come to the SEC and compete with them.
Maybe he ain't trying to come to the SEC.
Well, if he goes to Oklahoma or LSU, he is. This is what I'm saying. Those are the two jobs that he is most likely to be. He's not going to leave for TCU. I mean, so this is the weird thing. I mean, Fickell it's either SEC or Big 12 for him, and the Big 12 ain't got Oklahoma or Texas to deal with anymore. So you go to the Big 12, right?
If you can get paid by Cincy.
If you can get paid by Cincinnati,
mm-hmm.
Which is a huge if.
I don't think Cincinnati's been in this position before, so I don't know. I don't know what
used to it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're willing. I guess they're willing to go in since they're making that jump to the Big 12, and they obviously wanted to. So.
Yeah, surely they knew that this would come with that.
Yeah, there's now they get a ton more money that comes with it, so you can afford better coaches.
Sure. Or higher paid coaches.
Higher paid coaches, yes.
I'm not sure you can find much better than Luke Fickell on what he's done at Cincinnati. Listen, that's another thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow, but a lot of folks talking about Cincinnati in the playoff and how, well, if they move up, they're just punishing Georgia by not leaving Cincinnati at 4. Georgia only beat Cincinnati by 3 points in last year's Peach Bowl, 24-21. So y'all need to stop with that bull. Anyway.
It's different. It's different.
It is, but it's not.
It's different. No,
it's not.
Yes, it is.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes,
it's not different at all.
Playoff game versus a Peach Bowl that doesn't mean anything. Completely different. Completely different. And the two different
Are you an
teams.
Alabama fan
Yeah, telling you.
from when they lost to Utah?
Just,
You must be.
again, a game that meant nothing.
Yeah, it was definitely an SEC
Nothing.
thing.
It meant nothing.
A lot of games that did mean something over the weekend. We'll talk about them on the other side of the break. Stick around.
This is Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Sports talk like it used to be. You know, like your crazy uncle used to listen to. Only better. Here's Chris and Mo.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. If you are watching the SEC Network tonight, you will see Vanderbilt and Mississippi Valley State.
Hey.
And you will hear Drew Maddox.
Hey.
That's the color commentator.
All right. Good for Drew.
That's exciting.
Who's the play-by-play? Does it say?
It's not.
Is it Kevin Ingram?
I don't know.
No, Kevin is
He's
the
been
bandy guy. He's doing radio, right?
Is he doing basketball radio?
I believe so.
He was the sideline for football. I don't know if he's doing basketball too, because they don't have a sideline for basketball.
Well, let's see what Kingram Sports says on the Twitter. Nothing. So I don't know. I saw Drew's tweet. Mm-hmm. So Drew tweeted it. So it wasn't like I was looking at the broadcast crews or anything. This weekend's college football slate was insane. We started at 11. And
let me just say, I have watched more Big Ten football in the last month than I've watched in the 10 years before that.
100%. 100%.
Because I watched Michigan State, Michigan. I watched Ohio State, Michigan State, and then I watched Ohio State, Michigan this past week. And I've, checked in on Nebraska.
Penn State a couple times.
Penn State, Michigan State.
I watched a little of Penn State, Illinois when they were in that overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
A lot more. The Wisconsin Penn State game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I watched a little bit of that one. So, yeah, I've probably watched more Big Ten football this year than I have my entire lifetime combined. But it's been really good as far as
surprisingly good.
Surprisingly good. It's been competitive.
But I mean, yeah, for the most part, we've been watching their best teams. We've not been watching Indiana and
there's that. Although
those folks,
their season has been as weird as anybody's, including Minnesota and Wisconsin, which put Iowa into the Big Ten championship game. Now, you tell me. And then on top of that, Nebraska finishes their season 3-9 and did not lose by double digits. That is the most incredibly mediocre thing you can do in the history of college football.
They're calling themselves the best 3-win football team in the history of college football.
And they'd be right.
I don't know how big a deal I'd make of it.
I mean, well, they're the best non-loss team. I don't know about 3-win team.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
They're definitely the best non-loss team in the history of college football. Which
does that fall under the heading of damning with faint praise?
I mean, yes. It's like, this is good, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's better.
Okay.
Than where they were.
You lost 9 games by single digits, but the key there is you lost 9 games. Yeah.
Got to learn how to win. No question there. But the big game, literally the big game.
Capital T, capital B, capital G.
Exactly.
That's pretty presumptuous, isn't it?
Well, yes, but also Saturday, at least in the 11 o'clock time slot, it was.
I guess they come closer to being the big game than what, Cal Stanford being the game?
Yes.
Isn't that what they call their rivalry?
Correct.
So,
I thought Michigan just dominated from the get. It felt like Ohio State was never really in the game. To me, I never thought Michigan was going to lose. At no point. Much like I never thought Alabama was going to lose. Mm-hmm. Even at 10-3 with a minute 40 to go. So I'm pretty excited to see this Big Ten championship game because there's so much riding on it.
I just don't know. Ohio State and Iowa haven't played, have they?
Ohio State and Iowa? No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Michigan and Iowa. Have they played?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't feel like Iowa could have stayed on the field with any of those 3. Well, such is the world of divisions in college football. I mean, it's just unfortunate. But, and I'll pose this question tomorrow again, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. But what if everybody loses? Do you get a completely different top 4? I mean, what if everybody but Georgia loses? Including Cincinnati. Huh. And then all of a sudden Notre Dame doesn't seem like a bad play not playing anybody last weekend or this weekend. So anyway, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But Michigan dominant, much the run game that they were able to establish just absolutely exposed Ohio State. Did not expect that at all. 100% exposed them from top to bottom. After that, you go SEC teams would run roughshod through these guys. Then once they got ahead and Aiden Hutchinson and that other guy on their defensive front were able to just pin their ears back and go, Ohio State couldn't block them. At all. Yeah. I thought I thought that Ohio State certainly got exposed Saturday. I think we have to be careful with Alabama and the Iron Bowl. You know, Alabama doesn't have a running back that's dominant. They don't have the Najee Harris or, those type of running backs this year. But a lot of that's because one of them was in a car accident earlier this year and still recovering. I think they were on their third string offensive guard at one point. And Auburn was able to get pressure on Bryce Young, and they just couldn't figure it out, which is the same thing that Arkansas was able to do. They stuffed the run game and forced Bryce to beat him. Now, Bryce did in both of those. But, I watched that Alabama-Auburn game thinking, okay, at some point Alabama's going to reel off 3 touchdowns in a row, and it's going to be over because Auburn can't score against them. It just
never happened.
It never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, tells me one of two things: either trap game or Alabama, like I've been saying all year, isn't that good. One of the two.
So is it Baylor and Oklahoma State?
Yes.
In the Big 12?
Thanks to Eric Gray muffing a punt, giving Oklahoma State a first and goal at the 3, and then taking the lead and winning the game.
So you're saying, what if everybody loses except Georgia?
Yep. Baylor wins, Iowa wins, Houston wins. Then what?
Well, like you said, Notre Dame goes all the way to number 2.
That's right. I'm hearing people tell me that Alabama would be in.
With 2 losses?
They're
the number 3 team. That would give them 2 losses. Well, they're number 3.
Well, everybody else that would be moving up would have 2 losses too, except Cincinnati. Houston would only have 1, but they're too far back.
They're like 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baylor would probably move in because they're at.
But who's the 4th team?
They're at 8.
Who's the 4th team?
Baylor
Ohio
is
State.
Is it?
Oh, could be Ohio State.
It could be Ohio State benefiting from not playing in the Big Ten championship.
Because Iowa's 12, 13, 16.
No.
They're too far back, right? Iowa?
They're 15.
Iowa's 16.
Yeah, they're too far back.
Okay. Why would it not just be Michigan? They're better than Ohio State. You already said they were better than Michigan State by putting them ahead of Michigan State.
But they weren't better than Ohio State until they beat them.
I understand that. But they did, and they beat them handily.
They did.
Why would you not say, well, yeah, they lost, but they had to play an extra game, and we still think they're the 4th best team.
There's nothing saying that couldn't happen.
I think that's what would happen.
Yeah.
And that would be weird, right?
They obviously are high on Michigan, and apparently for good reason.
Georgia, Michigan. So you're saying Georgia,
knew what they
Michigan,
were doing.
Notre Dame, and who would be the 4th?
Baylor. They'd be a 2-loss conference champion.
Oof.
It's not going to be Utah, who also would be a 2-loss conference champion.
What about Oregon?
Oregon's not even in the conference championship game. They lost.
No, they are.
Well, if
Oregon
they were
and
to,
Utah.
They're playing Utah.
if they were to win, possibly
Where are they? Mo, you got the
11th.
Mhm.
They dropped
Yes,
from 3
Oregon
to
is
11.
11th.
And Ole Miss is sitting there. Ole Miss can't do anything. They're not going to move up.
Last week's
Ole
ranked-
Miss is 9th.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is higher. Could you imagine Ole Miss getting in?
without playing in the championship game.
Would that not be insane?
Georgia is 1. Ohio State, Alabama, Cincinnati are 2, 3, 4.
So it's Michigan, Alabama,
Michigan's
Cincinnati.
5. Notre Dame is 6. Oklahoma State 7. Baylor 8. Ole Miss 9, and Oklahoma 10. Right now.
Now, of course, everything you're projecting is next week after whatever comes
After
out
the conference
tomorrow.
Right.
So we
So
know
you're-
Michigan's going to move up to 2.
I think Iowa's going to move into the top 10. I think Baylor's going to be 8 or 9 because I think the committee is going, as crazy as this season has been, this could happen and they've got to be close enough to move up.
How far does Ohio State fall?
8, 9, 10, something like that.
So does Alabama move up?
I think Michigan goes to 2.
Michigan goes from 5 to 2. Alabama and Cincinnati stay where they're at.
I think so.
Notre Dame at 5.
Yeah.
For beating Stanford.
Whoever they beat.
Wasn't it Stanford?
It was Stanford.
They've not beat anybody.
They're still going to move up.
Yeah. It could potentially be number 2 in the country.
But Oklahoma State jumped Notre Dame.
I think
it's Oklahoma State's win over Oklahoma bigger than Notre Dame's win over Stanford.
I think they could put them at 5. We'll get into all that tomorrow a little more in depth. But I think they could move Alabama to 4 and just make this a play-in game. Right?
There you go.
You could see it. Make it a play-in game and be done. And say, you know what, Alabama? You barely beat Arkansas.
A play-in game only if Georgia wins.
Yeah, Georgia's not coming. Georgia's in either way, no matter what. Georgia's in the playoff, no matter what.
Because they're not going to fall out.
No,
with a loss.
Not by losing to Alabama. That's correct. No matter how big.
But I mean, it's a play. I think if you keep Alabama at 3, then Alabama losing gives them the idea that maybe
they only move back 1 spot.
Yeah, I think you got to put them at 4 to make them say it's winning you're in, losing you're out.
To give yourself the wiggle room.
Correct.
Oh, time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I'm excited. Tomorrow's going to be a good show, too. We're going to try to get somebody on to talk about this Oklahoma thing. We have some options.
Got a guy.
We got a couple guys. So we'll see what we can come up with. I'm interested to talk about it.
You got a guy. I got a guy. We ought to be able to get somebody.
We can get somebody.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it. Stick around for whatever comes next. I don't even know what's next anymore. So
it's not us.
It's not us. Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Tomorrow at 4:00 for Mo and JP. I'm Chris. Have a great day. Stay cool, Columbia.